does. So,
X100.
how many of my students try to stink me? I don't know, Hemi. I don't know how many of them even know that I stream. I mentioned it last year, and they all said I was a legend because I said I was a Twitch partner. I know some of them tried to find me, but the problem is I don't necessarily want them to find me because I don't want them spending money. You know what I mean? Like I don't want them subbing to me or cheering bits or anything like that.
Hey Zach, can I pass your test? Can I pass your test next week? Here's some money. Is that the sort of thing that
There you
you're
go.
trying to avoid? Yeah.
There you go. Now this is a yellow submarine, guys. I need to step away for a minute to go get that good stuff. Mara Draco, while I'm doing that, would you mind explaining to chat what they need to do to make sure that their King of the Sea containers are working properly? I saw some earlier messages that they're not getting progress on their missions, even after watching all day on my stream, which means they probably need to relink their account to Twitch, right?
Yes.
So would you be willing just to kind of explain to them real quick how that works, just so that they know?
Sorry, are you talking to me?
I think Bar Draco just stepped away for a second. CaptainBadger just came in.
Sorry,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Well, we'll get to that in a second. Badger, go ahead and talk us through the battle. What's going on? I'm gonna step away for a bit and go get some extra dirty water. So I will be right back.
Dirty.
Thrabus is now
Okay,
following.
let me pull you up first here.
So right now I can tell you that you're sailing. You're still
Ninth
sailing.
Split
Nothing
Fussy
has
is now
shown up
following.
yet. Seems like a pretty interesting day.
Yeah, so submarine, yellow. Let's see. The intent here with my division mate was to go through the middle, which has a depression in the intersection in the middle there that allows the submarine to go to maximum depth and avoid hydroacoustic if need be. This was sort of a gambit. We wanted to take a least time path through the center. We're staying on the surface and time for this time in order to save dive capacity for as long as possible.
Okay. Okay, so we're seeing some people in chat saying that they had to make sure they switched to my channel and not something else. So make sure that you're on twitch.tv/Lord_Zath, and that'll probably work. And here is what we're doing on the account of that level 5 hype train. This is Glenlivet, 12 years, Scotch. Excited to try this out.
Oh my god, you have that scotch? That is delicious. Excuse me.
So, talking through, I'll shut up if you want me to.
No, this is your replay, dude. Tell us what's going on, your way of thinking and all that good stuff.
Yep. So the reason I lost those torpedoes there is because I have such long range. I can use my sonar ping to curve them whenever I want. So I wanted them to be traveled out a bit further before I pinged a ship so they could curve in and get a better broadside hit on those battleships, which, as is typical with randoms, have no destroyer escort to screen them. Right now, this is an optimal situation for a submarine. 2 battleships, all alone, no escorts, basically farming.
That's your food, absolutely.
Absolutely. Battleships have the easiest time avoiding torpedoes, but if they're just sitting there and playing the rocking chair game like that ARP Yamato, this is child's play.
Absolutely. Here we have a little ASMR part here, guys. There it is, uncorking. So now you're trying to get 2 sonar pings, right?
Yep, I'm hitting him with a double ping. I'm also trying to get him to use his damage control, which he's not using. He continues to reverse. I'm aiming to set the pings on the bow of the ship so that the torpedoes are more likely to hit him in the midships, because the torpedoes go in where the pings are. Right here.
6 citadels.
And this is why you don't sit still with subs in a game.
So you're telling me that subs, kind of like carriers, punish static movement.
Very. In fact, they punish it even more than carriers do, because carriers can shoot down their planes at any point. Yeah. Especially if your anti-air is fully spec'd for it. Submarines, you need anti-submarine ships in the area to deal with them. Destroyers are the optimal ship to do that with. Light cruisers, also optimally suited for it. They usually have hydroacoustic, they have the detection to get in close to a sub, and they have the maneuverability to avoid their torpedo strikes. The best out of all cruisers.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you did let me buy that, Sitkin.
Yeah. Now,
Cheers.
here I misjudged the turning rate of my torpedoes. I thought they would turn tighter, so that's just a mistake. I also expected him, frankly, to damage control the ping there, but he didn't, so shrug. And the torpedoes lost lock, and they went right past. Notice how easy it was for him to avoid those?
Just by hitting W and turning. I saw that.
Pretty
yes.
much. Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, this is good stuff.
Yeah.
Chat,
Submarines are not even close to freaking overpowered, dude. They are some of the most balanced ships that have been added to the game yet.
Well, I don't want to get necessarily into an argument about, you know, balanced, unbalanced. I think it's more important. We're watching a game here, and you can talk us through from a sub perspective, and I think this is important for new players to kind of learn what happens. And you're in the tier 10 German sub. Now, why are you firing the torpedoes off to the side instead of directly at him?
I'm doing that so that they'll curve in more to hit his broadside. He's turning bow in, and that means that he's most likely to avoid the torpedoes. By turning him off to the left there, I was able to get him to arc in and get a better shot in on his flank. Now he's getting closer to me, so I go ahead and go for a crash dive down to maximum depth. I get detected for a second, but that's fine. And then I go maximum throttle, and I turn hard left or right. In this case, I turned hard right because the underwater ridge there leads to deep water past that. I'm doing this to not only keep my speed up. You notice I never use reverse once in this game with my submarines. I don't know why people are trying to use reverse with subs. You're already slow underwater. Don't do it. You're just making it easier to kill you.
Okay.
So what I do... No, moving and turning didn't save him because he didn't turn hard enough. Also, he should have turned away. Kiting away in a battleship is how you best counter the torpedoes. Turning in is more of a 50-50 game because at that point, torpedoes are closing with you at a faster rate than if they were chasing you.
Yeah, he's talking about the Arpeggio Yamato, I think, if I remember right.
No, he was talking about the one that I just torpedoed, I think.
No,
I think Grumpy was.
Maybe. But anyways, so you went deep, you turned, and that gave you the ability to turn back around, get your front tubes on the target. Okay.
And line up for a broadside shot on the Yamato. This is the thinking. You have to think 3 steps ahead with submarines to do well in them.
And I had mentioned that earlier too. I feel like submarines, they very much award tactical thinking, even more so than carriers. But the problem is that there's a lot of time involved in getting to that tactical point to where you can smash something.
They are very delayed gratification ships, but you know, you have patience and you get shots like this. I have had 200k damage games in these subs just by being patient and positioning myself intelligently. I think submarines, more than any other ship class in the game, reward patience, positioning well, and picking when to strike. I mean, honestly, you could just go deep, run to the opposite side of the map, sit at periscope depth, and spot battleships from behind islands or smoke, and you would be contributing more than any other ship in the game could.
Right. Makes sense. By the way, Mar Draco sent me a picture. He's having some scotch too. Cheers, dude. Thank you very much for a very successful day 1 of King of the Sea. While we have a moment, and while we have a moment, and you're sailing off right now, there's not much for you to talk about. So, for those of you
there will be in a second.
For those of you that had a problem with the Twitch drop stuff, the thing that you need to keep in mind is if you just recently reset your Twitch password, which a lot of people did as a result of the Twitch breach, then you have to unlink and relink your connection with Wargaming.
Askans just resubscribed for 8 months.
Askans, hello! So keep that in mind. If you haven't done that yet, you need to go. I believe you go to the. I don't have the page up. You go to inventory, and then you go to about this drop, I think it is, and then you can make sure that it's connected. You also want to make sure you go in from the Wargaming side, na.wargaming.net or eu.wargaming.net, Asia. You get the idea. Log in, go to what you're connected to, find where it's connected you to Twitch, unlink it, and then reconnect. I had to do that myself, and I completely forgot to do that a couple of times. So, anyways, I paused it because I think this is what you're referring to. This moment.
Yeah,
where...
this is where we run into the Baleo.
Yep. So U-571 intensifies.
Yep. So, in my gameplay, I have discovered that the German submarines have the advantage of endurance in sub versus sub combat, while the Americans have the advantage of bow and stern tubes, as well as quick acting dive planes and the consumable that allows them to ascend and descend more quickly. So basically, the American subs have better fast combat rates, while the German subs have better ability to drag it out and basically force their opponent to surface.
Got it. Francing, if it disappeared from the inventory, it could be that they've turned off the drop at this point for King of the Sea because they figured it would be done by now. I can't answer that. That Mar Draco might be able to look into that.
Original Viper is
Yep.
now following.
Yeah, it's just it goes all the way to 30 minutes. I believe after the listed time, just for safety.
Okay. And after what
So that's
happened
probably-
today,
Sex Rex
it
1
might
is
be
now following.
worth having that discussion to extend it to an hour or something just because of delays.
that
Yeah, so-
extra game. Yeah.
In this situation, I had a Kerfurst come around the corner, so my objective was to make the Baleo run out of dive capacity and then let the Kerfurst finish him off. I decided to maybe try and get a shot on him, so it
Whoa.
wasn't possible, and then dived.
Time out. So
Then
you're
it's-
telling me you're depending on team play?
Pretty much.
No. What the hell is this?
I mean, look at my div mate. He's about to come in and
I
hit him with
never
an
heard
uppercut.
of this thing called team play. It's so rare to hear.
Yeah, so here comes my div mate behind me. I think he finishes the Baleo, if I recall correctly, and then the other Baleo here, who came out of nowhere, yeah, he tries to ping me. Too late.
So Grumpy said, no, sorry, not Grumpy. Somebody I saw said that the drop's still active. Cane Daddy, if that's you, if that's the case, Francine, you might want to try reloading the page and making sure it's twitch.tv/load_zath is the URL.
Yeah. So the other Baleo behind me, my div mate was unable to get him. He fired torpedoes at me. I went deep to try and avoid them because they descend and ascend more poorly compared to their horizontal traverse.
Yeah.
And now I use this underwater terrain here, and I start ascending to the right, get out of his view, because my damage control is vital in this case. And now he's stuck on the surface. The Kerfurst comes around the corner, and this is why I spec secondaries for literally everything nowadays.
So what we were talking about earlier with dive capacity, guys, that's the little bar underneath their health bar, and you can probably see that now. I just paused it. So when an enemy is detected, they lose their dive capacity at a faster rate than normal. And as a result, once your dive capacity is gone, you're forced to surface to recharge that dive capacity. So that's what he was talking about with forcing this Balau up to the surface and then waiting for the Kerfurst to come around and finish him with secondaries.
By the way, the Grosser Kerfurst is the single best equipped battleship to kill submarines in the game. Its hydroacoustic is insanely powerful against submarines, and the airstrikes are the same as the ones on the Colombo and the Yamatos as well as the Shikishima. They have insanely high damage, and they drop 6 charges per strike. Now their recharge has been alongside, but I mean that's what you get.
Okay.
Dive capacity for people who think that submarines are overpowered because they can dive. If you spot a submarine, that is just as bad, if not even more pivotal as doing actual damage to them. Dive capacity is quite literally life for submarines. If they're out of it, they're stuck on the surface, they recharge incredibly slowly compared to how much they lose if they're spotted.
Right. Now, Deadliest is saying, where can I find my own dive capacity? It's right here. You've got 2 minutes and 38 seconds of dive capacity right now. It's to the right side of the screen. It's got that little lightning bolt icon there, energy bolt icon. So that's how you know what your dive capacity is. And now, like what Badger was saying is absolutely correct. If you want to win against a sub, you remove their dive capacity. It's not a quick, I'm going to kill this. It's a long-term, I'm going to prevent that sub from getting into a position to kill my team in the future. So, carrier players, you can spot submarines, if I recall correctly, from any depth. Is that correct?
From surface to operational depth. Maximum depth is only... So, here's the thing. You can only spot submarines with other submarines using their hydrophone or at direct detection range, the 2 kilometers detection or less, at maximum depth. That is the only way you can detect submarines at maximum depth. But at maximum depth, submarines cannot see anything going on above them. They don't get team intel. They don't get anything. The only way they can see anything above them at that depth is through the hydrophone, which only 4 charges. It's only active for something like 46 seconds. It's snapshots.
Right.
Carriers are probably the best way to make a sub run out of dive capacity because they're screwed. If a carrier spots them, they have to dive. They're getting detected the whole time, so they lose a good 5 minutes of dive capacity just diving the maximum depth at that point. And the carrier can just run over them and spot them.
So that's the point I was just trying to make is, especially if you've got if you're playing carrier, great. If you've got a friend that's a carrier, please, what you do, especially in ranked, is you ask them to spot the sub, and you ask them to put a fighter directly over that sub, because it's going to take a little bit longer for that sub to get out of the area, they'll be detected. That'll remove more of their dive capacity, and then you go fly off and do whatever you want to something else.
Yep.
Can I ask a question for you, Badger?
Go.
No, 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 no.
Funny. Would you say that Z-52 as well as the British destroyers could also be effective at getting rid of dive capacity as well?
In my personal opinion, the Z-52 has just become the single most effective anti-submarine warfare ship in the game. The long-range hydroacoustic combined with the concealment and its depth charges. It launches 16 depth charges that do 1,600 damage apiece. Now, that's not a lot of damage, but if you're just going at half or quarter speed over a submarine while you're launching those charges, they add up. And that hydroacoustic is 6 kilometers range. Any sub within 6 kilometers of the Z-52 is suddenly detected, and he is losing dive capacity. Furthermore, just suppressing a submarine by keeping it down at maximum depth is more than enough. The thing about submarines is that they are only as effective as you allow them to be. If you keep them from getting away with murder, doing whatever they want, they are now very ineffective. The only reason I got as much damage as I did that game is because there was nothing to stop me from hitting those Yamatos. Nothing at all. I foresee cruisers actually taking up more of an active spotting role than destroyers now, because destroyers will need to stay further back to counter submarines that may head to the other side of the map to spot from behind or torpedo from behind. I have gone to the middle of the map, dived, and then just gone deep and ran to the back of the map and harassed and killed carriers because there was nothing to stop me from doing it.
Gotcha.
Alrighty.
That's good intel, guys, for somebody, for people who are new to subs and everything. Hey, Badger, anything else you want to say about subs real quick before we move on? Thank you for sending that replay, by the way. That was great.
No, definitely. Yeah, submarines are not overpowered. They are incredibly balanced. They're kind of like destroyers in a way that they are only as effective as you allow them to be. If you don't do anything to stop them from doing what they want, they're going to get away with whatever they want. And those homing torpedoes, they're not powerful. They do as much damage as your typical airdrop torpedo with direct impacts. And the only way they can do significant damage is with either a full salvo of torpedoes or with double ping, which if you're in a battleship or cruiser, wait until those torpedoes are about to hit, then use your damage control to neutralize the double ping. You're still going to take a big whack, but it's not going to be 6 Citadel hits in a row.
Right. Okay.
Additionally, Battleship's Vigilance is now a very powerful tool because it neutralizes a lot of that torpedo damage.
That's a good point. That's absolutely a good point.